All right, cool. Yeah, Gus, when you're ready, my friend, off you go.
Sure. First of all, thanks for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. It's an awesome platform. So, just to give you an overview of Sifir. So Sifir basically is the Arabic word for zero, which is the root of the word cipher, just to give it a context of the name. And I started because of a dissatisfaction with things, how I see privacy in general, and I don't think UX, privacy, and social interactions should be orthogonal things. I wanted to bring a platform to bring it all together. Ultimately, where I see Cipher being is almost I don't want to use the name the super app, but essentially that's the closest thing we have these days of a WeChat or whatever, where basically you have this social interaction mixed with financial interaction together, and whatever you want to do over that is possible. Obviously, in a privacy-oriented way, in a user-friendly way, right? I know that's a couple of years into the future, so if you will, I'm using the Tesla model where I'm focusing on the hardcore Cipher node experience right now, and then from there building on top of it to get to the mainstream. So it's my belief if I start with a Cipher node privacy oriented solid base, and then from there we can build literally layers on top of the app to get it to the average user. That said, I don't want the app to be, I mean, I'm a programmer. I work in the terminal all day. I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look sexy. I want it to look approachable. But keeping in mind that my current, let's say, demographic, so to speak, is cypherpunks. People who know Bitcoin, know how to use Bitcoin, but want to use it together in a beautiful way. Once that is validated, from there, my approach is to build and abstract into things that are easy for somebody to use and take them down the Bitcoin rabbit hole slowly, right? So I don't know if that kind of gives a good TLDR of my thought process.
No, awesome. So just from looking at some of the screenshots and the video you did and the Twitter post and stuff, like you say, it's there's a lot going on in the application. You've got like stuff for identity with the PGP stuff, and you've got privacy, coin joining, that kind of stuff. You've got just your ordinary Bitcoin transactions. You've got chat. You've got um, a lot going on.
Yeah.
What sort of areas do you want to kind of like dive into? Because there's quite a lot there, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that much. And again, thank you for the time. Well, primarily, I'd like to focus on two things. One, which is out there already, the privacy aspect of the flow I had in mind, and I'd like to iterate on this idea that I had in terms of choosing an anonymity set. I'm not sure how much you guys use Wasabi or you don't, but in general, like you mix coins to a certain level of anonymity, and then you can spend them based on that set. So I'd like to dive into that experience and see what you guys think in terms of how I can modify it slash, what the thought process I have. And the second thing, if there's time, I'd love to go over an iteration, just some screens of the PGP generation and identity, so to speak, of some screens I have in mind, and see what you guys think. Just as a base case, again, keeping in mind this is created for cypherpunks, and then eventually we want to build on it to get it to the point where it's approachable by a mainstream person. So those are the two things I'd love to focus on today, if that's possible.
Sounds good to me. How does it sound to everyone else? Christoph's smiling, so that's good enough for me.
No,
um,
I was just, I told Connor earlier before this call a little bit. So I usually try to, whenever I review something, like I'll sit down the day of or before, I download, I test the screenshots, the annotations, and all of this stuff. I miserably failed today. Like I looked at, there's the application. Then I thought, okay, I need to install this deck test come up. I can figure that out. Then I realized, okay, I need to run Cypher node. And then there was like all kind of setup explanations. I was like, okay, this will take me like 3.5 days to figure out. So I was just thinking, so I'm not your target audience right now. But I'll do my best to provide feedback.
Maggie has
I
a
don't know.
question as well.
Say that again, Johns.
Maggie has a question. Maybe you could read it out. What drove you to integrate these typical social features, feed, chat, into your product? Was it based off of feedback or from previous conversations from cypherpunks?
So if I understood the question correctly, is what prompted me to integrate the social features of the product into the app? Is that it?
Yeah, was it based on feedback and conversations with cypherpunks?
Not at all. I mean, tell you the truth, if anything, I did some testing on Twitter just to get the idea. And I mean, considering the current use case of Twitter, of Bitcoin, it's a savings technology. And to add your identity on top of your savings that are supposed to be censorship resistant, stuff like that, is not a value add proposition at this point. And so when it comes to that, that part of the equation is like the chat identity part for me is 2-3 years down the line is where I would like to get this, only because I see the other options that are not privacy minimizing, that are just made in a way that I don't think is right. And that's why if I reverse it back a couple of years to where I am right now, I go backwardation on the product that I'm trying to build. What the basis of it can be a PGP key with an identity that, for example, I see a use case when I'm trying to get somebody's address. I would like them to sign it with their PGP key, right? Especially if I'm sending a lot of money. In the context of multisig, for example, I'd like to know that this person is sharing his descriptor with me. I have a whole thing with multisig planned, but basically with Tor, you connect to each other and then you make sure that's the right person using the key. And there's use cases currently with the basis of using a PGP key. But when it comes to chat or when it comes to identity and that kind of stuff, that is purely based on gut and purely based on something I see projecting into the future. But the base case right now, it's not for the cypherpunk crowd, no, not at all.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right, should we jump into the stuff around anonymity and coin joining?
Sure, yeah.
Do you want to share screen or?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Let me see. Actually, let me just check something because I'm building something new on the application. I want to see if it still works on my phone. If not, I'll just share the screen.
Cool.
Okay, it's just stuck in the okay. So in general, I mean, I just want to show you quickly. The app looks something like this when you boot it up. It just has wallet and keychain, and you have your. This is like a watching wallet. So this could be like an XPub that you just add. This is a normal BTC spending wallet. This is your Wasabi wallet, and this is your Lightning wallet, right? So if I click on the XPub, it just shows me my balance. Yeah, I broke it this morning, I think, doing some stuff. But anyway, yeah, I broke it. Anyway, so I'll just share my screens. It's better.
Cool.
Share your screen. Entire screen. Allow. So if we go to the privacy stuff, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, nice one. All good.
Okay. So so basically, this is what the Wasabi wallet looks like. This is the icon. This is your balance, and this is the current balance with the anonymity set of 20, which is a slider here that you move from left to right to select your anonymity level. So if I slide it here, this is how many coins I have that have anonymity set of 87. This line represents the cumulative balance. So you would expect, like, when I first add coins to my Wasabi wallet, my curve would look something like this because the coins would be unmixed, and then with time it looks more something like this. As the coins get mixed, they get to the right side. Does that kind of make sense in the curve here, or should we explain it some more?
I got it from your explanation. Without explanation, I would not have understood.
Okay, that's important. Yeah, exactly. So the idea I had here was, instead of people, because if you have used Wasabi regularly, like before this, the way you would do it is you have to individually select every single UTXO, every single coin, and then spend it. My thought process here was basically using a slider to go from, okay, like let's say I don't care about the anonymity level that I want to spend. I can spend the coins that are unmixed, it's fine. But let's say I'm spending something that I want to be private about. I can move the slider to the level of the anonymity I require to spend. And then when I click spend, sorry, that's not here. Oops. That's another intake on it. When I click spend, oh my God, where am I? Yeah, okay, so it's broken here. Yeah, so when I click spend, I would spend the coins the privacy level that I've selected only, rather than have to go through the whole process of managing and selecting coins individually. So that was the thought process here with this kind of thing. And the fact that it's not understood is not a good idea. So, yeah.
That's
So
interesting. So I'm gonna ask loads of silly questions. So like, would 100 level and anonymity be perfect anonymity, and 0 is absolutely none? Like all UTXOs can be traced down to like a single UTXO, or
yeah, so 0 would be basically unmixed. Basically, these coins just directly came from another sender, let's say. Somebody, like literally the person or the service that sent you the coins, the direct address is linked to the UTX, so they haven't been mixed in any way. Moving to 90 or 100, it doesn't mean absolute anonymity, but you can say with Wasabi, for example, after anonymity set of 50, you've reached a very strong anonymity set. That means like your coins have been really mixed with other UTXOs. So all the coins have been joined and spent and joined and spent and joined and spent a bunch of times, to the point where now it's very hard to trace them back to the original transaction that brought in these coins, right?
okay,
So in general, the larger the anonymity set, the more privacy you have in the spend.
okay, interesting. Is that
I
is
had
that why
some
you
thoughts.
is that why it kind of goes up at about halfway?
No, so that graph shows your balance at that
Oh,
anonymity set. You know what I mean? So like, let's say at level, if I go back, I don't know, I thought this was working properly, but anyway. So if I go back to the screen, here, so here, for example, at anonymity level 20, I only have a balance of 0.050 sats. That's for example, right?
I see.
But if I go to at 87, I have, well, the numbers don't match, but I have a larger anonymity. I have a larger number of coins at this anonymity level. So it's kind of like a cumulative balance graph of basically how many coins I have with the minimum anonymity set of 87 in this case, right? What's my balance there? Or how many coins I have with a minimum anonymity level of 20. So it's a cumulative balance, right? So because if I want to spend a minimum of 20 of like coins with a minimum anonymity set of 20, I don't care if I have a higher level anonymity. I just want the minimum of 20. If I want to have very high level anonymity, I care that the minimum anonymity level is 87. It's a mouthful, but yeah, that was the idea here. It's kind of like make it easy to slide left and right and select the amount of privacy you want in your spend.
So
One
this is obviously a
question.
very, very complex thing to both explain and to understand. But it seems to me that there are sort of three things going on. One is the amount you want to send, which change, well, not necessarily the amount you're sending, but the amount you are able to send with a certain anonymity is changing. Then there's the slider itself, which is changing. And then there's the graph. And I think those three elements together, I have a hard time understanding. Do you think the user will kind of enter this flow wanting to decide on a certain anonymity or decide on a certain amount that they are sending?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the use case. I mean, if I put myself in the mind of somebody who's using Wasabi, this coin join technology, let's say this privacy technology, they're privacy oriented in my mind, and so the way I designed this is basically you would want to know what is your spending capacity at this privacy level. Whereas
Yeah.
opposed to if you just want to spend whatever, you would use your regular Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I have a solution to propose, but I'm just sort of voicing some things that are going through my mind. So the slider is increasing going to the right. whilst the amount is going down, which I understand because you have more, there's a smaller amount, so there's a higher ability to mix it. But it's something about the amount going down when I move to the right that's sort of cognitively off a bit to me. And then there's the graph, which seems to be at 0 until you reach 50%. But it doesn't seem to be dynamic. Is that just for this user, or is
It's just for that user.
Yeah, okay. Because of the amount that they have. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I can. There's a YouTube video I shared that shows this, depicts this properly. Let me.
Yeah, I had a quick look at it. So
Okay.
maybe it's just me, or maybe it is just a very complex issue.
So I have a,
But
I have
I
a
guess
question.
I'm trying to just mention that there's a lot of things going on, and I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to focus on most as a user.
Mhm.
So I have a question. Well, two thoughts here. For one is, this is kind of the wallet overview screen. So your primary action is you're inspecting your wallet, right?
Yes.
And then I assume once you go in spend, and then you go into spend flow, and I assume that's where you can make other selections, and maybe that's where you select the anonymity level for that particular transaction. So maybe like this is kind of the inspection tool, and then later on you get into a send flow, and that's where you have different ways of selecting. And I was wondering, when you're selecting this, is it like, to me as a user, do I need to know the difference between 87 and 84, or could this be just 3 categories? One is called less privacy, one medium, one is high privacy, and it just like shows me little bar graphs or so? Or is this level of control helpful? I mean, and well, I guess the question would be: is it helpful for mainstream users, and would it be is it helpful to your current target audience?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it needs to be this granular. I think every user can have like a not private kind of thing, like a binary thing. Totally, I think that could be valid. And then if you really want to get granular, then that could be a feature that can be enabled, kind of thing. But I think that's a totally valid point in the sense of we can just abstract that into, private, not private. Yeah, I think that's a great thought.
The graph looks cool, though.
It does. It does.
It does look cool, but it's almost sort of seductively cool. But I like Christoph's observation that this is the overview of the wallet, so perhaps this is not the place for that slider.
I mean, you might want that information. You might want to see, okay, what does the wallet composition currently look like in terms of anonymity levels? Maybe I need to make an adjustment to mix something more, so in the future when I want to make certain transactions, I have the ability to do that. But then when you spend it, there could be something different. There was all this anonymity.
I know.
Somebody else created a design that was also related to coin selection, and their solution was actually, let me see if I can pull that up here in my background. So if you can look at my background, so a lot of this comes back to coin selection, and what they came up with was that whenever you receive or send something, you kind of label it. So you say, this came from an exchange, I'm sending this to myself, this from a friend, and then those categories include certain privacy categorizations. So then when you actually
really see your
send...
screen. Well, I can't anyway.
You can?
No.
Okay. Well, let me share this Figma file here.
Okay.
Because if you take it back to coin selection, then you have points further up in or at different points in the user experience where you could then automatically select the wallet select the level of privacy, because it knows, hey, I'm sending this to an exchange, I'm sending this to a friend. And because coins have been previously tagged when they came into the wallet or have been interacted with, that then you don't need to select the anonymity level. The wallet already knows this from the context that you added at different points. There's just a thought. There's also a GitHub issue around coin control if you want to, if you feel like this is appropriate. So it might also be completely
I'll show
different
you.
topic here.
I'll show you something. Let me just do this. Because I mean, labeling is something I do also, but I think it's like, so if we go here, do you see the screen?
Mhm.
So within the Wasabi wallet itself, like if I slide that bottom section up, I get like transactions, unspent and unspent coins. These I can select the coins individually, blah blah blah, with each and every set. And then obviously there's labeled addresses and labeled coins, right? So I can label these things and label them as I need them to know. And then when I spend them, I can see where they're coming from in their labels in that sense. But that doesn't resolve the privacy issue, right? That labeling for me is a well, at least in my humble opinion, I think labeling is a way of identifying the coins. So when you spend them, you understand the historical background of it. But it does not resolve the issue of the privacy of this coin. How hard is this coin to understand in the sense of where it came from? You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of variables moving here together, and it's so hard to focus on it. But for me, like, let's say I want to, for example, it's a remote example, but let's say I want to buy a T-shirt, right? I look up my wallet and I see all this coin came from whatever exchange I buy my coins. I don't care. I'll spend it. That's fine. But let's say, for example, I'm paying the medical bill of a friend, right? Regardless where the coin came from, I'd like it to be mixed to a very high anonymity level, A, to protect the privacy of my friend, and B, to whatever reason, right? Because it's a privacy sensitive issue, right? And so the way I see these things, yes, context is important, but there's also the physical aspect of how much this coin has been mixed before you can spend it. That is a kind of certain dimension that I'm trying to aim for. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No.
Yeah, it does make sense. And all of that mixing would happen within this wallet, right? Or would you, can you understand the privacy level from just looking at the coin history? Or does only this wallet know it because of whatever actions you've taken inside of this wallet?
So you can kind of look at a UTXO, a coin, and see that it came from a coin join. You can see like it's been mixed and like, you know, it came, but how many times it's been mixed, you can kind of deduce that from chain analysis, but it's really, you know, locally on your instance of this node that you would know how many times this specific coin has been mixed, because you can track it across the mixes. There's also another flow I came up with in the sense of, so I had this idea, I don't know if you saw the video also, where basically I approached it from another way, where basically the user can set a minimum anonymity set. So let's say I want to abstract things to the point where, sorry, let me just find the screen. Yeah. So where the user basically doesn't have to worry about this, right? All I want to know is my coins are private. So by default, the flow would look like something where all my coins I receive, I send them to this mixing technology, let's say. And then I set a minimum anonymity set, let's say, that I want to set it to a certain level of 25. And all coins, here I set it. And once the coins reach that 25 level, they get sent to my wallet, to my normal spending wallet, my online wallet, my Lightning wallet. And that way I don't have to worry about selecting over the privacy level. I know that all coins, once they come in here, they get sent, they get mixed to the certain level that I want, and then they get sent to the wallet I want to use them with. So that was another approach I thought about thinking, in the sense of maybe for a normal user in the background, that would just get set up like that, and they receive the coins on the Wasabi wallet. It gets mixed to a certain level, and then it gets sent to the spending wallet. As a thought process, also, that was something I thought about.
It's interesting. Is but there's a cost involved in that, both in time and in actual money for transaction fees.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
So
processing
guys, the thing
graph a little bit, and I was just wanting to share sort of an alternative way of presenting this information. If I look at the sort of the right top end of the graph, that indicates to me that there's a maximum amount of SAT that I can spend with 100% anonymity, and then there's some form of where it meets zero. There's another amount where above that I will have zero anonymity or similar. So another way to present this could be to simply say, somewhere in text, like you're able to spend, X amount of SAT with 100% anonymity, and above X amount you will have no anonymity. Just wanted to share that. Like,
so a text, I would say, so basically going to the idea of categorizing anonymity as a binary thing, where you have this amount of balance above this threshold and this amount of balance below that threshold. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
Yeah, close. I think, if you approach this from a point of view where a user wants to send a certain amount, and if they could quickly come in here and say, like, am I able to send that amount with full anonymity, yes or no? It would maybe sort of answer that question instead.
Okay. Well, the thing is, there is no such thing as full anonymity. It's kind of like a setting, like
the graph sort of indicates to me, though, that there, it levels off up there, and my mind just read it as like, oh, okay, that's full.
Okay. Yeah.
And the bottom line is like none. But maybe if that's not true, then my mind read it wrong.
Yeah, clearly the graph has some issues that need to be improved. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing you could add to the graph would be at the bottom a line that says the smallest amount, and at the top the highest amount. So just to label that y-axis, so there's an understanding. Okay, this represents amount. This is not tied to an anonymity level, but there's a different axis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Different. Sorry, John, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I think this graph is probably not going to end up being this smooth as well. Especially like when you just have the wallet, you were explaining that you'd have this huge spike of unmixed coins, and then so it'll be kind of like this diagonal, like shooting up, and then like straight, like maybe you have like one coin that's unmixed, and then it's gonna it's gonna be quite sporadic, as you can imagine. Right. So something that I've been looking at is like, just similar to what Daniel was saying. It's like I think you have coins that are available for spending, and those coins that have not been mixed yet, right? And so then you kind of have like two wallets inside of your what do you call? Nice. Yeah, so you have two wallets inside of the in the Wasabi wallet. There's the spendable, there's the unmixed one and the mixed one that you can spend, because they have the minimum anon set, for example. Something else with the graph as well, it's or just with the anonymity setting as a slider or selectable. If the user decides that they're sending coins with like 0 anonymity, right? Like anonymity is at 0. How are coins selected then, right? At that point, you kind of do automatic coin selection, right? You have to still bring up the what do you call it? The coin control, right? So that the user manually selects their coins. So yeah, that's a comment around.
So say that last part. What you meant about that, the last part?
Yeah, so you shouldn't be automatically selecting unmixed coins like anonymity set 0 coins for the user. You can automatically select the mixed coins perhaps, but not the unmixed ones.
And why if somebody's saying I don't care about my privacy, putting a 0, why is there value for the user to select the coins if they're making that assumption?
Well, they could be like really like, okay, so if you do like automatic coin selection by like whatever algorithms they use for that, what could end up happening is that now you're mixing histories, like, okay, yeah, fair enough, you could put it into the mixer after, but I have a feeling that may not be the best for your privacy still, when you're like just automatically, like dust attacks, for example, could also be used. Now the attacker knows multiple of your addresses, they know more of your accounts, Um, yeah, so I think you'd still have to default to, at least to be responsible, you'd have to say, hey, if this is a privacy wallet, if you choose zero anonymity set payment, like for this payment, then you have to, understand that this is kamikaze mode, and you're choosing, you're choosing, like you have to choose the coins yourself. And at that point, that's when you rely on the labels, right? It's like, okay, well, you know what? These coins have been spent with like these certain observers, so I'm fine. Like if it was received from those observers, I'm fine to like share those. So then I would use yeah, exactly, this here. So that's when the labeling and presets or whatever that Christoph was showing. That's where that could come in.
Interesting. So basically, would you say Flow basically, let's say I completely remove the ability to spend, like the auto spend, the previous this flow kind of thing? Like if the user selects anything that's not private, then they have to automatically kind of do the manual.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, and this would be in the context of this Wasabi wallet because it is privacy focused, and if you're here, you should know.
Exactly. You definitely don't want to do automatic coin selection there, because it can like, yeah, really harm the user.
Okay. That's fair enough. That's really good, actually. Okay, cool.
Tough problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that video I put here like makes it kind of more, because in motion it's a bit clearer in the sense of how it looks like in reality. So this is like you just deposit some coins and the balance goes down as the person goes to more anonymity because they have less mixed coins, and obviously when you scan the address you just spend it that way, right? So that's the flow. And you can see here in the video it tells you like the total balance have minimum anonymity set of 49 is this, right? So and when you select the amount of coins you want to spend, you just spend them, and thank you very much.
Yeah. So on Android, you're able to run this in the background, and it'll be able to like sign like input registrations and everything.
No. So basically, the way it works right now, it connects via Tor. So it connects through a privacy connection. If you guys are not aware, through Tor, it's like a tunnel. Think of it as a private tunnel to your Wasabi instance that you have running on a PC or in the cloud or whatever. Right? Because right now, again, if you think about who the people using this are, and it's primarily people who would also have their Wasabi instances running and stuff like that. So, and technological restrictions in the current state we have, you can build a Wasabi wallet that runs on mobile, but your privacy is either it's not going to run in the background, or if you can get it to run, your battery is going to die in 5 minutes, and the user is going to throw this wallet in the garbage. Like, I'm not going to do this, right? So at this level, this feature is more oriented towards cyberpunks again. And as technology evolves and things permit, obviously this will be run in the phone, and the user experience will be matching in the sense that it abstracts away all this stuff into just private and non-private kind of thing, as you guys mentioned.
Okay, so that means that there's some sharing of metadata, and I don't know, like I've never interacted with Wasabi in such a way where you're like connecting to it remotely. But would you like are you able to like get the preferences and stuff of like anonymity set and like minimum anonymity set from that node?
Yes, totally.
I see. Okay, well then in that case, the stuff that Daniel was talking about with having this like mixed coins and unmixed coins kind of thing, it's like I think when I open up the Wasabi wallet, I should just see the coins that I'm able to spend, on the mobile, because it's like the Wasabi node that I have running is doing all my mixing and stuff in the background. Yeah. And why do I have it on mobile now? That's the question. Why do I have this on mobile? Well, most likely because I want to be able to do some spending, right? I'm not using it to do like mixing, right? I'm not, like maybe I'm using it to monitor certain stuff or whatever, but I just want to know like I want to be able to spend like primarily I want my coins that meet my minimum anonymity set preference.
Okay, no, that's a great point actually. Might as well just copy the settings that are in the Wasabi node, and then like maybe the graph is just to show you how your balance is distributed, but
Yeah.
ultimately the spend is like, whatever threshold you have programmed in the Wasabi, you should go with that. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so then it like ease of it, like using those defaults, you're kind of like using it for the user. And the graph, then you can still use it there, but I don't think maybe it has to be like interactive and as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like able to do a payment from there. You just say like, oh, if you want to monitor your Wasabi wallet mixes and stuff that are going on, yeah, like this just shows you like the distribution. But like when you go into like sending, you're like sending mixed coins, and then I guess you still have like a coin control interface for like kamikaze mode, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes a lot of sense actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to express earlier, you actually have it in your UI in the payment screen there, where you say your total balance here, total balance having minimum and onset 49. That's kind of what I was talking about, right? It gives me an idea of how much I can send. Anyway, I think you get it. That's sort of what I was trying to get at.
So you're saying basically the selection that's happening here, basically 49 this kind of selection should be done on here in this flow. Is that correct? Do I understand?
Yeah, either that or the information of how much I can send at the maximum available anonymity, or my if I already have set the preference elsewhere. Say I have set it to 49 or 75 or whatever. If there was a small announcement somewhere, maybe it's on the main screen where like, here's how much you have available to spend at your preferred anonymity set. But anyway, I was just seeing it there. That it's sort of what I was. I'm not sure if I'm helping here. I just seem to be confusing things.
I'd like to ask a related question. So me as a total noob who can't even get this thing up and running, so how do I decide which anonymity set is appropriate for my purpose? Am I guessing? Do I have to have experience? How do I know if I'm successful, if I pick the right level for what I'm trying to do? If I try to pay my friend's health bill, do I guess? Like, can I say 75 is good? What's the difference between that and 90? How can I figure that out?
Just before you answer that, do you want to? I know you had a second piece of work you wanted to go into as well, or are you fine just continuing with this?
I'd really like to at least get a quick opinion on the second piece of work.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just answer this question quickly. It's basically. It's a good question because there's no set standard, but usually 50 is what's recommended as pretty strong, basically. That's it.
Yeah, that was a great question, Christoph. I would have no idea.
Yeah.
And so in that case, I think you could just like rely on the defaults of the wallet. And since you're connecting to a node here, like the Wasabi like remote node, the default is 2 for like they do these shields, so it's like 2 for like the minimum. 21 is like a green shield, and like the best is 50.
Yeah.
So 2, 21, 50.
No, I understand that. I think, I think there's a rethought process I need to do in this, where basically this is a really power user feature if they really want to get down to the granularity. My understanding is a level 1 abstraction I need to do is basically categorize this based on some defaults or based on industry accepted standards, where basically a user doesn't have to think about this and has some decent things that he can use and they can't hurt themselves via the coin selection if they use kamikaze mode. I think that's all great feedback that I'm gonna incorporate into a redesign of this thing. That's really, really helpful. Yeah.
I think also like we can't forget that you're connecting to a hot wallet node that's running, in wherever. So, like, is the tool going to be an administration panel for that node, or is it just going to be something that you're going to be spending from, right? So if it's an administration panel, then you need to change those preferences. If it's not, then you'll go onto that node, change their anonymity set, and then it gets reflected in the app automatically. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, I think I'm going for more like a wallet spending thing than an admin thing. Admin thing, you can do that on your computer. It's a better interface to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so if you don't mind, guys, I'll jump to the second part that I really want to get into, so this part is about. This is like a retake. So this is what I call my keychain. It's key, and here like it's the basis of it. Going back again to Maggie's question, which is very pertinent in the sense of. The way I see Cipher eventually, there was a link I shared called Stacking Stats. I don't know if you guys, but I'll show it to you quickly. So something I find, so where's that? Okay, Google hates me today. Cipher IO. Okay, so this is a landing page I did to like kind of test the waters in the sense of ultimately where I'd like it to go, right? And just an idea, I just came up with this thing. So the heading changes depending where you land from, but this one is like earn and spend Bitcoin having conversations that matter. Think WeChat, Venmo, but different, open source and private. Cipher is a multi-purpose messaging app platform. So some use cases here where basically there's some of these service providers and you can pay them to contact them or pay them to chat, or the usual, I want to send you money when I'm talking to you, and reasons why it's cool. So it's just an idea of like just the thought process I'm going through in the sense of conversational commerce, let's say. This is, I kind of, just to show you, I tested the waters here in the sense of how the community feels about it at this point in time. So I did this kind of like, what do you guys think about this? And, like these are the keys, and there's kind of like a feed of the keys you have in your, and it's just not the time for it, for the community, right? So for me, I went back and revised it. Okay, at the root of this, what is there? There's the PGP key, which is something we have right now, and there's encryption and decryption of information. So for now, the way I backward from this product into what I see right now is this thing called the keychain. Here it's called keyless, but I think more of the keychain, where I have my PGP keys, they're my own PGP keys that I've generated. And if I slide left on a key, I get this context menu, and I can always, generate a key, import a key, or search for a key. And if I generate, it starts a generation flow of like generate key or import it. The generation process looks like this. So it just generates a key, asks you to back it up. Once you back it up, you continue, and the key is here all of a sudden. And obviously, when you click on the key, you can label it for a name that you care. Add a profile picture to it if you want to so you can remember it, or associate it with something. And when you slide a key to the left, when you have a PGP key, you can do primarily three things with it. You can sign something. So I select the key, and then I enter the message I want to sign. So I paste the message, let's say, and I sign it, and it says sign, and I can copy the text or share the text with somebody. And I can encrypt something. So if I want to send you something I can decrypt something that's been sent to me. So let's say somebody sent me a text that's encrypted. I decrypt it, and then I can do whatever I want with it. And there's also the notion of, again, edit labeling this key, which we can do by just clicking on the key itself. On the other side, I have my contact keys. So the contact keys are public keys, are people who shared their keys with me, right? And these are all on the phone. They stay on the phone. You're the only one who knows this thing. So what I can do when I have a contact key is I can verify a message that's been sent to me, validate a message, and that includes a Bitcoin address. So somebody could have sent me a signature of a Bitcoin address to make sure that person is indeed the PGP key that the address is from is really true. So think of a use case as basically if I post an address on a website, for example, or on Twitter, and I'm not sure if this Twitter account is fraud or real, using the person's PGP key, if they had signed this address, I can validate that the person's PGP key, which is public, and they share the fingerprint on key servers is indeed the person that has this Bitcoin address. And obviously I can encrypt stuff. Sorry, this is back to contact keys. I can encrypt something. I can encrypt a message for this person, so the only ones that can see this message and read it. So if I paste a normal message here and I encrypt it, it gets encrypted, and I can copy and share it normally. And I can edit the key to add a picture of this person. So, for this key, for example, I can add a picture, and I can add a label to it and it stays on my phone. It's or I can have some actions to validate a message for, encrypt a message for this person. That's where I can delete the key, obviously. And that's the base case for these things. So if I delete it, no return. This is broken. Sorry. Yeah. So that's the key list. And one example, if I go through the flow quickly towards the end of it. So here I can search for keys on a key server. So if we go back to the screen and I can add these keys to my repository of keys. And an example would be if I'm about to send somebody an address, for example, I can label the address obviously that I said, like let's say I send this to John, I can address sent to John, and I can encrypt and sign the address. So what happens is it encrypts it with the previous. So I enter the previous flow of encryption and signing, and what John gets is the encrypted version of the address. So nobody can know what the address is, and it's signed. So if John has my key, if I'm on John's contact list of keys, for example. This is terrible right now, but yeah. So I thought if I'm on John's contact keys, he can verify that indeed I am the one who sent him this key because he has my key. I send the address, and he can decrypt it and use it in that sense. So I'm just looking for, in general, feedback in terms of how this flow looks for you in terms of PGP and just in general what you guys might think about it as designers. So
I don't know if I should go first or maybe give someone else a chance because I have a few comments.
Go nuts.
Daniel or anyone else?
No, go nuts. Go for it.
Okay, so you're searching a key server. Which key server is this?
It can be MIT, it could be whomever.
Okay, so it'll search for an array of key servers.
Yeah.
Okay, so now for each key, it's possible, it's like a contact someone who is just existing on that key server, or someone who I have also signed their keys, like at a key party or whatever.
That's up to you. So if I go to contact key and I click on their key, it doesn't show here, but there's a button that says vouch, and you can click it and basically you sign their key. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So how do I get people onto this list of contact keys though? So I'm just searching for them, and when I click add, this is just stored. I'm just storing their key locally. I'm not doing any signing or anything like that. I'm just looking them up by email address, for example.
Exactly. So you can either use the server, or you can scan a QR code, or you can import the key, like just copy paste their text kind of thing of their key.
Mm-hmm.
A public key, you can paste it, or you can search for a key, and obviously you can generate a key. Once you have your key, so it looks something like that, let's say, and then once you have the key, you can edit it and add a name to it, add a picture to it. That's up to you, right? And that stays on your phone.
Okay, so I wouldn't go about just searching a key server for an email address because I know someone else could have registered that or whatever, Mm-hmm. So I'd have a conversation with someone and say oh, by the way, is this your key?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just thinking about that, and that before I even vouch for them or anything like that. Do you see this as a tool where people at this phase? Do you see this as a tool where people are I guess how important is the vouching feature at this point?
Well, for me, the way I see it is every key usually has a fingerprint to it. So keys have fingerprints, and so if let's say, for example, John, I send you this key and it's my key, and you call me, yo, Gus, is this fingerprint your key? I'm like, yeah, this is my fingerprint because this is the key. Then it's legit, right? So I can edit it and write, okay, John legit key or whatever, right? I can say basically. Vouching is more along the lines for somebody else. So if I vouch or John's vouch that this is my key, then other people who download this key can see, okay, John's actually vouched that this is Gus's real key, right? And they trust you. So it's kind of more like a web of trust basis.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So if you want to move eventually to something where basically you have this, and you have like how many people have vouched for Alice to be truly Alice and what she does, right? So kind of vouching is the basis for kind of that, right?
Okay.
But in the current iteration, vouching is not really a necessity for what the workflow is. Not at all, no.
Okay, so I have shared my my address with someone, and I have like in that message, I signed the entire message with like with one of my keys. So now okay, I signed the entire message with one of my keys. I send that signed message, and then the person is able to verify that inside of Cipher. Okay. Is that okay? There's some stuff I'm thinking about, like revocations and stuff like that, if that's gonna be like available at maybe like a bit more advanced feature. But like within that within the same user flow, I could imagine that, well, shit, like that's not the key anymore. I made a mistake. Sorry, that's not the address I use anymore. I made a mistake. I lost my wallet or something. I want to revoke that. Okay.
So the way PGP public and private keys are generated is it predominantly the same way that Bitcoin public and private keys are generated, in that you can essentially create a Bitcoin address from your PGP keys, right?
You can't create a Bitcoin address from you. You could, if you want to make the seed the same for both, you can do that technically. But in this instance, they're completely separate keys.
Okay.
The way I look at it is one is a financial key and one is a social key.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult because, like, with what you set up initially, you said that people don't want to mix the identities with the things together, but to truly get the value of this PGP stuff, I would like to see like deeper integrations.
Can you expand on that, for example? Like, what do you have in mind?
So similar with like what Connor said, to be able to like one key to generate like this, like both my PGP and my wallet and my Bitcoin wallet. So that would be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would kind of like, can you go to the screen where you're doing like a payment request?
So is this predominantly to mitigate against some of the uncertainties of not being able to necessarily verify where you're sending your money to via like a Bitcoin address? This is saying
exactly
if I can verify that I'm sending it to this person because they have encrypted their address, and I have the public key by which to decrypt that, and so I know it's from them.
Exactly. Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So, for example, like if I just go to my GitHub profile, I'm just choosing it randomly because whatever, I know it exists. But
yeah.
If I go to my GitHub profile, I have my PGP key fingerprint here,
mm-hmm.
right? And so, so if I'm wanting to get an address, like if somebody wants to send me Bitcoin, for example, if I post this address that's signed, let's say, with this key, right? Anybody can validate that this address was indeed signed by the owner of this key,
mm-hmm.
and so they can, at an extra level of certainty, know that if I've been compromised at multiple levels, not just at one level of just having somebody hacked my whatever Patreon or Twitter account and replace the address with their address, or all these hacks you hear about, for example, right? So there's like a JavaScript that replaces the real address with the fake address. This way, the hacker might be able to replace the address with theirs, but they can never replace the signature with the signature that validates, because they don't have the private key for this public PGP key.
So what happens? What happens with So back on the this payment requesting. So when you click encrypt and sign address, like what do you get after that?
Okay, so that's a good question. The thought process right now is just you enter this flow. So you enter the encrypt and sign flow, which is here. You kind of go to like here, and it just, you select the key you want to do this for, basically. Like, who am I sending? Let's say I'm sending it to Ralph Star. Continue. This would be pre-populated with the address, right? And then you just like, obviously, so this would be the address, and then you go. This will be encrypt and sign, and go like that. It tells you successfully encrypted and signed, and then you can share it and copy it, basically. So you can send it and email it.
Okay, so at this point, okay, so this is just a pure thing, but okay, so like verification. Okay, so it's encrypting as well. Okay, because I'm thinking like if it could also be like a BIP21, so that it can like, okay, if I really don't trust, then I can like decrypt it, kind of thing. But I could still just like easily be able to make the payment through the BIP21 URL.
But see, we can, for example, like it could be just signed and the signature sent separately, and the address is like open text, so BIP21 can just like pick up the address as a normal thing, right?
Yeah.
And then the signature is sent as an extra where you can sign it, right? So for me, let's say for what that example just said encrypt and send, but for me, it will probably, like, what I would go for is probably just to sign the address. Like,
sign address.
There's no reason for me to really encrypt an address, right? I was just put as there, but most likely you'd want to sign an address is something you'd want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And well, if it's signed, you could just add it as a parameter on the BIP21 URI. So then, if when you share that, it like I could like easily just like my wallet could detect it, like, oh, you're pasting a BIP21, then it would ignore the signed part. But if I'm like really paranoid, I could actually go there and like check the signature myself in like the Cipher app if I load it in. I think the sharing of that payment request has to be a bit the sharing of the payment request has to be thought through.
Okay, so in the sense of here, right? Like once I got it,
around this part. So if I can, so you select the key that you want to sign with, and then you have this message. I don't know, like, maybe the entire message isn't something that I need to sign, unless I'm sending an email, right? Unless I'm sending an email, then I think that's when I would want to like write up the entire message and encrypt it and sign it or whatever. But if it's just a payment request, it's like, hey, I'm requesting like 200 Bitcoin and.
Just quickly, we have come to the hour mark, so we've officially run out of time. But I'm kind of happy to stay on if people are, or if people have to hop off. Feel free to leave, and thanks for attending.